Aloha. Today is our Hawaiian Day, and our guest is a new author and of poetry called The Poetry of Aloha. And his name is Stephen Carbon, and he is here with us from Delaware, although he does have a home on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. And The Poetry of Aloha is his debut into poetry, but he's also in his anthology of poetry are also some of his photographs. So he's a photographer and a poet and a musician, and we're going to be treated today to a video of he and his group called Carbon 14, who play live in Delaware and elsewhere. Correct, Stephen?
That's correct,
Where,
Michelle.
where, where else do you play?
We play all along the Delmarva Peninsula between the states Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, pretty much the mid-Atlantic.
The Mid-Atlantic. And in the background, you're hearing and hopefully seeing some of the music and video of one of our favorite sons of Hawaii, and that's Brother Is. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1997, not before he was honored, after which he was honored posthumously, of course, by lying in state at the State House. I think he's only the third person in the history of Hawaii and he was a non-government person that was given that honor. So Brother Is, anyone who is familiar with his music knows he sings like a bird, and one of the most beautiful voices you will ever hear. This is Over the Rainbow, and hopefully you can see some of the beautiful scenery that is so much a part of the Aloha State. And by the way, Stephen, did you see in the news that Hawaii was given the honor of the #1 place in the world, in the country, to live? For the second year in a row, the happiest place to live.
The happiest place to live.
Did you see that?
Country. Yes, I did see that.
Well, so Stephen and I do not know each other by living in Hawaii, but both of us have had the experience of having residency on the Garden Island of Kauai. I was there off and on for 25 years as a real estate developer. Stephen was there as a visitor who took in all the beauty and the joy of getting away from his business in Delaware to have an injection of paradise and aloha. And this is what has inspired him to photograph and write and play music. So I had a question though, Stephen. Do you do any Hawaiian music when you play with your band?
We're not that type of genre of music, of Hawaiian style or the reggae music. However, I am a big fan of those styles and always take in any shows I can when I'm in Hawaii.
Right.
But our band is mostly a classic rock type dance performance band.
That's what I thought. But maybe you'll segue there, and maybe when you move to Hawaii after you retire, that could become your next career, because that would be so phenomenal. But I know you said you have a ukulele. Now you have to get a slack key guitar. That will be the second acquisition for your genre into Hawaiian music, your entree.
You can never have too many guitars in life, that's for sure.
That is true. So, just curious, in your band, you're not the lead singer. What exactly is your position?
I am the bass player and a backup vocalist. I also sit on a few drums. I do play drums as well, and I'm pretty much the leader of the group and the founding member of the band. So it goes back many years with an original lineup of artists that I worked with. And
I noticed that. I noticed I can see on the video that you have a Hawaiian shirt on. Thank you so much for dressing for the occasion for our right, and you're giving us the shaka. Thank you so much. We're just a little background, so anyone that's visited Hawaii knows how special the experience of paradise is, particularly when you absorb it as non-tourist, and you can go as a tourist, but if you really want to appreciate, particularly, I know the island of Kauai the best, as does Stephen. However, all the islands have something to offer, but Kauai is very, very spiritual. And people always ask me, why did you pick Hawaii as a place to develop real estate? And I always tell them, well, it's because, San Francisco is my home for my entire adult life. And that's where my heart is, as we know from Tony Bennett. However, my soul is still in Hawaii. And Stephen, I think you and I share that experience of no matter where we are in the world, Hawaii still is in our soul. And I think the question I would ask you is, why is that for you? What is it about the Garden Island of Kauai and Hawaii in general that you believe is in your soul at all times?
Yeah, it's a very charming experience to go to Hawaii, especially the island of Kauai itself is just a botanical wonder and joy of nature to experience, photograph, and just to be a part of that experience in life, has had a deep effect on my writing and my whole personality in sort of a mental, spiritual, and physical cohesiveness that I find from the aloha spirit that has befriended me, so to speak.
So, and how do you define the aloha spirit?
I define that as the combination of a reverence for peace, love, nature, and a harmony of humanity. It's more than just a greeting of hello and goodbye. It's very much a philosophy of life, as the ancient Hawaiians have created their philosophy over many hundreds of years, centuries of isolated living. So it is a kind of a unique experience. The spirit of aloha is original in its own design. And
it's interesting, Stephen, when you're living there, it's almost like a third world country, even though it is the 50th United States. And we have to remember that because people often forget. And so, we always say the mainland when we're talking about living in Hawaii, that if we're going back to not the United States, as some people mistakenly say, but to the mainland. And that's very important to the Hawaiian people, that you say that, as they're very proud to be, or most are very proud to be part of the United States. There is a very colorful history, as we both know, of aloha, and also of when I say kind of like a third world, it's Hawaii is unique in that it has its own language, its own music. You and I both know that the music is, as we heard from Bretta, is daunting music, and it has a lot to do with love and nature. So it's interesting that you would pick the poetry of aloha as the title of your book. So let's delve into that a little bit. We're going to show the cover of your book here for a moment. There it is. And you can see that's the Nepali coast, right?
That's correct. That's the Kalalau Valley.
The Kalalau Valley. You photographed that.
That's correct. Yes.
Did you photograph that from the Waimea Canyon side or from the Hanalei side?
That is from the Waimea Canyon side.
Yeah.
Up on one of the canyon lookouts.
Right.
It's across the Kalalau Valley out towards the North Pacific.
Right.
And the northern part of the island. Very sacred place to the ancient Hawaiians.
Right.
As well as just a beautiful place to see.
Yeah, interesting that the ancient Hawaiians actually lived in that valley, and there was what we call in Hawaiian an ahu pua'a, which means from the mountain to the sea, and that is what the Kalalau Valley was. Although it's very, very difficult land to farm, they did interestingly enough, farm that land. And taro was one of the major crops, as you know, Stephen. However, the ahupua'as have disappeared. Unfortunately, most of them are gone now. The definition of an ahupua'a, from the mountain to the sea, was an economic subdivision that the kings bestowed on their ali'i, the nobility, for their loyalty. And basically, it was economically subsisting, where the hunters in the mountains would trade with the farmers, would trade with the fishermen, and they could live economically subsisting on what was basically grown and hunted and fished right there in that piece of land. So they became like a financial fiefdom in a sense. And of course, this loyalty was reinforced for the ali'i by having this kind of a gift. Actually, just to give you a little aside, I did own an ahupua'a on Kauai. It's called Kealia, and it's on the east side of the island, and it's from the Makaleas, from the mountains to the sea at Donkey Beach. You probably know where Donkey Beach is, Stephen, right?
Yeah, oh yes, I do.
And Kealia Beach. So, we owned the entire oceanfront piece of land at Kealia, above the high water mark. And then we donated numerous acres, about 67 acres of oceanfront land. And that today is the bike path that you probably have either used or you certainly have ridden by it, correct?
Yes, I have many times.
I'm very, very proud of that. But, this isn't about me, but I just wanted you to know that I have such a powerful feeling for you because of who you are and what you have done to basically reinforce through your writing and your music, and your photography, the spirit of aloha. So let's go back to the book and tell us a little bit about some of the poems that you wrote and why they are so special to you, and maybe even quote one that's shorter so that we can put it into our memories.
Yes, I definitely felt a very compelling sense of emotion to put this book together. It was more or less a labor of love and just a joy of photography of the island, and from those images and from the aloha spirit of the people, this book evolved from just personal writings to become a full book of poetic and photographic beauty, and just my overwhelming, sense of emotion that I have about the island, the lifestyle, all the people that I've met there on the island have been so gracious and inviting. This book is a tribute to them and to the island and to the spirit of aloha.
So is the Princess of Aloha that's featured in some of your poetry, is that a real, if it's not too personal to ask, is that a real person that you're referring to?
Yes, it is.
Aha.
There is a symmetry there between an island girl and the island of Kauai itself. There's an intermix of love between the two. And the poetry is it's up to the reader to interpret, but sometimes you just don't know if I'm talking about the island or an individual, or the combination of both. So it's sort of a mix.
I would say that is one lucky wahine. That's so cool that you had a real person to.
Thank you so much. It is dedicated to her. However, she wants to keep her anonymity with it. So
correct.
I will leave,
Of course, we understand. That's why I qualified by saying I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to pry, but it is very clear.
it is a heartfelt, experience that I
Uh-huh.
had with her, and these poems are a dedication to her, spirit of aloha that has blessed my life.
So,
Just changed my whole direction and philosophy.
is this going to be an anthology, or is this just the first of many other books that you're thinking of writing, Stephen?
Yes, it is. Actually, I'm actually in the process of writing some new poetry and hopefully put together a second edition to Poetry of Aloha and release that. And the first book, ultimately, I do want to write music to the lyrics of the poems
Ah.
and turn some of the song into Hawaiian songs.
Ah, so I wasn't far off when I suggested that this was coming. I didn't know that, but I'm happy to hear
Yeah.
that. There are some Hawaiian musicians that I need to introduce you to that I think could be a great influence on you. So we'll do that off camera, but there certainly Makana, who I told you about, is one of my close friends. He's the slack key prodigy. Um, trained by Sonny Chillingsworth and Gabby Pahanui, two of the classic Hawaiian musicians. So he would be one. And well, we'll talk about the others, but the point is that they can be a great influence on you and maybe even help you to compose some of your poetry to music.
Correct. It would be an honor to work with those musicians and be able to put some of this poetry to music and and Hawaiian music in particular in that style. And
Right.
you get the poems and the lyrics are are just waiting for music, and a spirit to be applied.
Right. So, Tony, can we take just a quick little moment and play the Brother Is video again, just so that people get the real sense without me speaking for a moment, or Stephen, so they really understand the soul's connection that the Hawaiian music has for all of us who appreciate that genre. So, just for a moment, Stephen, we're going to play.
I watched them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Well, I see skies of blue and I see clouds of white and the brightness of day. I like the dark and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands singing, how do you do? They really say, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I wish upon a star.
Unbelievably beautiful, huh, Stephen?
It's just a purity to his voice.
I know. And you appreciate that being a musician probably more than most people. There's one other song that I think Tony wanted to play, and that's Over the Rainbow. That's the one that nobody can walk away with a dry eye. So in a couple of minutes, we'll segue to that Over the Rainbow and keep the aloha spirit powerful within this within our discussion, so we can continue to refer back to one of the great Hawaiian musicians. But let's talk about you as a musician. So you have a group and it's called Carbon 14. Why that name?
Carbon 14 is a name that goes way back many years. It's the carbon-14 in the scientific definition is a radioactive isotope that's used in carbon date testing of fossils and archaeological materials. And our band is the element of carbon is, the universal element of life. Everything that exists organically contains carbon. Our music is like the element of life. It's theoretical. It transcends all races, cultures, and just brings a spirit together of humanity, no matter who you are or what country you live in.
And is it the group, the group that you founded, the same group today, playing together?
There are different members that have come and gone over the years, but I'm the founding member that goes back to 1989. This group, and so I've been.
Wow, that's a long time, Stephen.
For over.
I didn't think you were even that old.
Oh, geez, now I'm blushing. Thanks. But,
well, would it be okay? Would it be okay with you if we? Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, would it be okay with you if we listen to one of your performances?
Yes. Yeah, certainly. This is one of our most popular songs. We play music that we feel touches people's hearts, entertains, puts a smile on their face, and makes them want to get up and dance. This is our whole, our
so
style of music. Yes.
I bet one of those is Van Morrison.
Indeed it is. Yes.
Okay.
Great song called Brown Eyed Girl.
That's actually one of my favorite songs. So let's go and listen for a moment to Carbon-14, Stephen's group. He's been there since forever, 1989, and singing Brown Eyed Girl.
Tracy? Yep.
Van Morrison a run for his money.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Well, what's with this cowboy hat? Tell us about that imagery.
Oh my gosh, that's my traditional hat I usually wear in Hawaii, and I wear it at a lot of shows and events that we do, and it's just become a trademark of my music and my presence, persona, so to speak. And obviously, it comes in handy when you're hiking the trails of Hawaii in the summer sun.
Stephen, do you know the name of the Hawaii, or the name of the word for that in Hawaiian? The cowboy.
I've heard it, but I can't
Okay, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
It's
I
called
can't remember what it
Paniolo.
was.
Paniolo.
Paniolo,
Paniolo.
Paniolo.
That's who you are. You're a Paniolo. At least that's one side of who you are. I think you have many personalities or many sides to you and a lot of depth,
Actually,
obviously.
you brought it to.
There you are. You brought it with you. Oh my goodness. Very cool. Very cool. So, in your experience in Hawaii, where have you found the greatest moments of your joy? At what time and where and what were you doing? Just give us an idea of how the beauty of Hawaii has penetrated your soul.
One of my most favorite times of the day is early morning before sunrise on the southern shore of Kauai, along the beaches of Mahalapu and Poipu beach areas. There's just magnificent sunrises there over the Pacific every morning that are just photographs just don't do it justice. I would really highly recommend anyone just witness that in person to realize the full effect. But I do enjoy that area of the islands in the morning, early morning. Some of my most favorite times to photograph nature and the awakening of the island. And I also enjoy going up to the North Shore, LA, Kalalau Valley trail hikes. There's just beautiful scenery up in the Nepali coastal areas and all on the beaches all the way up through to the north side. So there's just beautiful scenery everywhere throughout Hawaii that just gives me a thrill of life and vitality and just instills a feeling of just wanting to share that with the world. And that's the purpose of Poetry of Aloha. Poetry, photography, is to share that experience in my own creative expression.
So we said that you might read us a little excerpt from your book. So would you take a moment and pick one of your most favorite little poems? Not too long, when our time gets limited, but something that you will represent who you are and what you were trying to convey in your book. Would you do that for us?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll read a short segment from one of my poems. This is called Prisms.
Oh, yes. That's your most famous one.
This is a friendship of aloha is beyond horizons yet to be found, where the prisms of the sun kiss the sea. Clouds of cumulus disappear into the mist of the Makai. Opulence of earth and sky meet dreams of humanity. The reflections and brilliance of nature's creation weave the fabric of life. Gentle reminders of faith beyond our horizons. To touch the softness of early evening stars in the warmth of another hand. Eyes of blue meet darkness of hers on the caress of waves. Islands and worlds apart, but a dream shared by my wandering poetic heart.
Wow. So would you interpret for us what you were trying to say through your poetry?
Sure. This is my own creative expression of witnessing the beauty of the nature of Hawaii and aloha. When I say opulence of earth and sky meet dreams of humanity, that's one of my most revered expressions I like to use. It's sort of my own interpretation of my life and nature and how those two weave together. And then it's also about a note to a special person out there, and that's what I mean by softness of early evening stars in the warmth of another hand. So my poetry is the poem is about the beauty of nature my love for both that and the intimacy of another soul, spirit of aloha that brings us together.
Oh, now you're making me get tears in my eyes, Stephen. That is so touching.
It's kind of hard to describe myself, because these poems come from a very real place, very visceral feeling.
And you know what makes it even more compelling is that you're a businessman by day, your other life, and
Yes.
so you have this duality of being both a very entrepreneurial, analytical, day-to-day running a business with all the responsibilities of a CEO, and a successful one too, I would say, in Delaware there, right, with your company. Why don't you talk for a moment about that and how that fits into the whole genre of your poetry, music, and photography?
Yes. Well, my business life is also sort of an inner drive and entrepreneurial spirit that's driven me for many years. It's brought a lot of great success my way, and it basically has enabled me to experience the Hawaiian lifestyle and be able to grant me that time and dedication to the islands, and my love of the islands and the time I spend there are all based on that business aspect of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So one does tie in with the other, but there's a true separation between my creative side and my business personality.
Mm-hmm.
There is a difference in those realms. And
well, I think it's
Delaware is way has been very good to me, has blessed my life in many ways, and has given me the ability to expand upon that now with my experience of aloha in Hawaii.
So 5 years from now, where do you see yourself, Stephen?
I see myself playing in a Hawaiian reggae band on Kauai somewhere, perhaps,
Uh-huh.
and writing music and continuing my pursuit of aloha spirit to share with the world. My goal would be to eventually invest in a farm, organic farm, orchard type property up on Kilauea area of the island.
Mm-hmm.
Just enjoy my days waking up to the Hawaiian sunrise.
So Poipu might be left as a memory, and the north side of Kilauea and that area might become your new home on the island?
That's eventually I would want to have both places, not to sound too selfish in my ways, but I would keep what I have as an investment type property and share that with other people, vacationers, tourists, my friends who like to come to the island to visit. This would be a place for them to enjoy. And I would have my slice of heaven up on the northern shore of the island. But it's something that I, would not want to give up my, either location that hopefully I have the opportunity to invest in. I think there's a lot that I have to learn and live and realize through my experience there. There's a calling for me to that island in some respects.
Well, I can
I'm
certainly
still figuring that out. I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, and I certainly would love to help you with understanding that, because that's where I made my presence on Kauai, was of course, on the north side and east to north, and starting at Kealia, but then going north to Kilauea at Secret Beach. And I think agriculturally, we had some of the most beautiful holdings there on the north side. So anything you need to brainstorm about that, I'm happy to do that. We had a nursery that was 130 beautiful palm trees and organic garden and all of that. I think I mentioned to you when we first spoke that one of the greatest joys of my life is picking your dinner, going to your garden, looking at all the beautiful produce, picking what you want, and within 5 minutes you're eating some of the healthiest food that on God's planet, and you know it hasn't been sprayed because you've tendered that garden. So that is, I think, one of the greatest gifts that you can have, nutritionally supporting yourself from the land that you've been the steward of and nurtured. So that, I applaud you for wanting to do that, and I think you're going to have an amazing experience. And it doesn't have to be commercial. This can just be for you. And it always amazes me that Hawaii imports so much produce from the mainland when the soil there is the infamous brown red dirt of Kauai. That red dirt is rich in nutrients, and this easy to grow produce there. It's a major segue from the history of sugar on the island, and looking for new opportunities to replace that massive industry. But anyway, little people like you and me, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That's the theme of our podcast, and here we are. You being a great example of that, Stephen, and I know there's an amazing future if you do embrace that opportunity on Kauai.
Yeah, and I'm very attached to the farm life. I have a farm here in Delaware currently. That's where I'm at right now. At my I have a horse farm here that I've had for many years.
Right.
So I enjoy the land and the space and the realness of nature around me. So I hope to transition that into another lifestyle in Hawaii in the next 5 years.
So before we segue again to Brother Is, as we close today, what is it, Stephen, that you would most like to leave with our viewers today? What is it that you would most like to teach them through the medium of your communication, through the poetry and the photography and the music? So just, maybe in one sentence, tell us, what is it that I am trying to teach? I, Stephen Carbon, am trying to teach the world.
I'd like to bring a message of peace, love and reverence for nature and fellow humanity in these trying times of turmoil and political unrest, wars. There's just a need for this spirit of aloha to transcend through society.
That is beautiful. So that is your legacy, Stephen, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, let's listen to Brother Is, and we'll come back one more time, and we're going to listen to Over the Rainbow, if Tony can bring that on for us.
Wonderful.
above the chimney top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dream that you did to, oh, why can't well, I see trees of green and red roses too. I'll watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself.
Well, Stephen, when I listen to that music, I must admit I do not have a dry a dry eye. How about you?
Yes. Yeah, it's very moving. Just the simplicity of the melody, the ukulele, and his voice just combine to just create a higher element of being that I think touches all of us. Is what's
Stephen,
his connection.
so true. And I was blessed to see him in person perform on Kauai, actually.
Wonderful.
Yeah, they had to bring him on stage with a crane.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know he had a lot of health
Well, he was.
difficulties, and
Yeah.
it didn't detract from his musical heart in any way.
No, he cared. He cared. He embodies the aloha spirit. And before we close today, I just want to dedicate this segment to you, Stephen, for being our guest on our podcast and being so connected to your heart. Because you are a head person in the day-to-day life of running a business, you have also embraced your heart and you have become a person of connectivity with the land, the what we call in Hawaiian the aina, the spirit of the land. And I just want you to know how much we all admire what you are trying to accomplish, and we want to wish you the best of luck and continuing this journey that is so important. I know you are focused on so many issues that are both challenging for the Hawaiians as well as spreading the word in the universe about the aloha spirit. So thank you so much, Stephen, for being our guest today.
That's why I appreciate your invitation, Michelle, to be a guest on your show. I was very flattered and humbled to be asked, and I do appreciate your generosity of spirit.
Well, thank you so much, and we wish that many more times that we will have an opportunity to hear about you in the future. I know you wanted to offer our viewers some special, what we call our friends and family discount. So maybe just take a moment before we say goodbye, say aloha, to explain what it is that you would like to share with our viewers, and also how we can connect with you.
Well, certainly I invite everyone to visit my website, poetryofaloha.com. There is some wonderful photography on the site, as well as some of my newer writings of poems that are free and available to anyone who wishes to take a look and just curious about the writing and my authorship. There is a discount available for anyone watching this podcast to go to my website and personally email me that they saw this show, a podcast event, and we are willing to discount either copy, soft cover, or hard copy of my book, Poetry of Aloha, by 20%.
Oh,
We provide
thank you.
So we definitely want to promote the spirit of aloha, and anyone who can take this book and pass it on to someone else, that's what I would appreciate.
Is the book now in publication in Hawaii or elsewhere, like on Amazon or?
Yes, you can currently download the online version from Amazon, Kindle, Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
There are also bookstores on Kauai. There's a bookstore in a little town called Hanapepe.
Mm-hmm.
Talk Story Books. It's probably the most popular bookstore on Kauai.
Right.
There are editions there at for sale, as well as on the Big Island at Kona Stories is another bookstore that has graciously accepted some editions of my book to be sold.
But you could send out copies personally to our viewers if they contact you by email. That's what I think is going to be very clear to people, that they can email you, that you're so personal and so responsive and so approachable that they can come to you and say, I saw you on Michelle Hughes's podcast or on Ageless and Timeless. And thank you so much for the 20% discount, and then you'll take care of the rest?
That's correct. We'll contact them back personally by email.
Wow.
And get all their details and address information to ship to, and arrange payment. And certainly, we invite everyone to come check it out.
Very good. Well, mahalo nui loa. Thank you very much, Stephen. We're so happy you could be with us today, and wish you all the best.
Mahalo, Michelle. I appreciate the invite, and hopefully, I think hopefully we'll meet again.
Oh, I know we will, and hopefully that'll be in paradise.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
I'll meet you in Poipu.
Very good. Well, Poipu or Secret Beach, how's that? North and south. We'll get both covered. All right. Very good, Stephen. You take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Aloha.
Aloha. Well, we took a little journey without getting on an airplane. Hopefully you enjoyed the little slice of paradise that we shared with you today. Stephen certainly embodies the spirit of what, amazingly, a haole, which is what the Caucasians are called when we're in Hawaii. The haoles that can really embrace the deep feeling of aloha. It truly is like a religion or a spiritual journey to be a part of the Hawaiian culture, and to really and truly embrace the history, the music, and the beliefs of these beautiful Polynesian people. So I just wanted to dedicate, other than to Stephen, wanted to dedicate today's show to some of my very personal friends who I hope will watch this podcast. And that's the new mayor, or actually he's not so new anymore, but the mayor of Kauai is Derek Kawakami, a very old friend of mine, and the former mayor, Bernard Cavallo, also a very close friend. And then three of my very, very special staff members that I hope will watch this. And that's Luigi Masello, who was my general contractor and general manager, and Gloria Jabalana, who worked for me for a decade, being my special assistant. And the third one is my CPA, who I couldn't have lived without, and that's Samantha Schetzline. So to all of you, and to Stephen, aloha. This is Michelle Hughes saying goodbye, and mahalo from Ageless and Timeless.